reintroduce myself to you guys in a kind of way. Okay, we're live on both YouTube and on oh, Sly Fox. Thank you for the heart me. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, so happy Monday. If you're watching on YouTube, hello. I wanted to do this on Beam where I had multi-streaming, but it's more important that it actually comes out live. And you guys on YouTube as well as on TikTok have been around since like the beginning when I've been doing like content. So if you have just found me, means we never quit. Let me see. Let me see. What does that mean? It's almost one here. Oh, it means you never quit. Like, what is time anyways, right? So if you guys want to join me on I guess our conversation about time and time travel and the Legion of Superheroes, you can get that on Wednesdays. We've got a full moon incoming, and on my Discord channel, we have a little private channel. Hey, Wolfie. I'm gonna say hi to Wolfie before we begin. Oh my goodness. Hello, everyone. Oh, yeah. Hey, Sinisters. Hi, you guys. Welcome to Renegade Radio with Rachel Z. To all you rebels and renegades out there. Oh, what's up? I think there's a fly down here. Wolfie gets very afraid of flies. So, full moon is definitely soon, Robin Banks. So, good doggy. Hi. So, we're going to do a Monday cosmic weather broadcast. I do astrology. However, I wouldn't consider myself an astrologer per se. Go. I used to offer readings, but then I realized that it's not really my forte. Like I can do it, but it takes a lot out of me emotionally to do them. So I've decided that that's not really my thing. What did you say? Oh my gosh, a fluffy little guy. Yes, Sinisters. Okay, so welcome to Monday, you guys. If I'm not in cosplay, the main theme of the new Wolverine game is out. Oh, Spartan. Yes, we will talk about games and all that stuff in this live. So this is a long time ago when I was growing up here in the prairies. I really wanted to be on the radio. Like a big thing was I wanted to be this is like Rachel Z for Renegade Radio reporting at. Oh, nice. David Fleming. Love it. The music in video games matter. Okay, so let me circle back, you guys. So all that like my scheduling has been all over the place, right? So whenever I go live with you guys in cosplay, it's usually like late at night. I'm telling you guys a story, all that kind of stuff. There is a reason to all of this, right? It's because stories are how we talk about reality. And when we think about like news anchors or we think about people who are like, they're reporting on stories that are in real life, they're anchoring a particular timeline into this reality. Now, there's another side to all of this, right? Where we have a very magical way of the way the universe works in the unseen realms. Like if we talk about things like magic or the imagination or pure consciousness or things of like the woo-woo nature, right? All these things that like you can't empirically prove love, yet we know it's real, right? You can't necessarily test to see how much someone loves another person, right? In terms of a metric. Each of us, why the heck? Oh, because I'm on my YouTube as well. And I'm going to be doing screen share on that. So I want to make sure there's no feedback. I decided to do this on TikTok as well, just in case you guys wanted to see, what the week is going to hold for you guys in terms of the astrology. So let me pull that up. I'm going to also, they've got kitty ears, like little antennas for me to like read the cosmos a little better. Okay, so let me look up my AstroSeek. Oh my goodness. We do have a full moon on Wednesday coming up, you guys. I'm trying to find, I don't want to do my natal chart. I just want to show you guys what the astro says. Okay. And I hope you guys have been doing well. I hope you had a wonderful weekend. I hope you had some fun stuff. We have a long weekend coming up here in Canada where I am. Um, but I want to give you guys a bit of the cosmic weather to start. Because I look at astrology not as something to necessarily like believe in, right? I don't like whether or not the full moon is made of like blue cheese or is a satellite or is like not what they say it is. It doesn't take away the fact that we can all observe the fact that it is full, like, or moving from like a new moon phase. It's a way of marking time without us getting too caught up in the weeds as to like, oh, well, it's exactly this or like exactly that, like daylight savings time or like different time zones and stuff. Time can be very fluid depending on where we're marking it. What's more important is for us to be aware of like the symbols within time in terms of something coming before something else. Because time's not linear, it's all happening at the same time. But if, let's say, you're reading a book, you have a beginning, middle, and end, right? And so where you are in the book is key, right? Are you going to be trying to gather your team together when you're supposed to be really gathering supplies to go on your quest? Like knowing where you are in the story is key to how to be aligned, right? And no one has the right to tell you like boo, right? Like it's your reality, it's your reality tunnel, it's your world. You allow whatever external forces in. You give them the permission to enter. It's like Dracula. The vampires can't enter unless you invite them in. That's where they try to trick you. So careful with that. Thanks guys. It's my gaming headphones too, right? Because I am a gamer girl. I've video gamed since I was a little girl. And I think people think of that as like a masculine thing, but it's just because of my childhood, right? I didn't have a great mother imprint growing up. And so I looked to other avenues in order to have examples as to how to have like that, that mother vibration, right? So, yeah. Oh, Bucci me, thank you for the donuts. You guys are sweet. And so if you want to catch, I'm just going to look at the astro for today. You only live forever. Thank you. Same says. Oh, pre-necos. Yeah, love you guys. So whatever you believe, whatever you choose as your North Star and your compass in this reality, I welcome you guys to trust yourself, right? And that's not easy, just as someone who has like searched a lot for like mentors and people to kind of tell you what's up, right? It's about learning to how master yourself. Oh yeah, I am finding happiness through the trees. And Bucci man, I hope you have a great day. Happy Monday, guys. I love cheeseburgers, you guys. There's nothing better than a great burger, right? Because you can customize that burger to be exactly the way you want it. Like whether or not you want extra cheese or like onions or like the kind of bun you have, it's brioche versus like, ciabatta or whole wheat if you're like that kind of person. Hey, Tegan K. Ronnie Greasy J's cheeseburger. Best thing for, I love lifting weights, doing a really heavy ass workout and having a good burger right after, right? You have that anabolic window. And even then, the anabolic window, when I used to be a personal trainer, people used to say that was like a myth. Yeah, of course. Of course. I love burgers. It's the perfect summertime food, right? Okay. So I've got my current planets today. If you want to see the cool graph, if you're into that, I'm going to pull that up onto my OBS now. Let me see. Double cheese, double bacon. I love bacon. I mean, I'm half Filipino, right? We love pork. So, you can't, you give like ribs or like bacon or like anything like that. I love it. I love it. So, eating healthy too, when people say that, it's all about balance. And I think in our world, many of us don't get enough fat, right? So fat in our diet also helps your brain work a lot better, that kind of stuff. And I know that there was a lot of there's propaganda back in the day with the cereal companies where they tried to make everyone eat a lot more whole grains, and not to say whole grains aren't terrible, but it's more privy to, our food. Oh, Tegan, thank you for that. I'm going to uncensor that comment. Good coping I developed. Yeah, definitely. I mean, all of us have coping mechanisms when it comes to different things. So let me what the heck? Display capture. I haven't used OBS in a little while. Oh no, that's not the right one. This chat box. And I just achieved monetization on my YouTube, and then I don't know what to do with it. Oh, so funny. Okay, window capture. All right, let's do that. Astro chart. If you guys feel comfortable commenting your astro in the chat, please do let me know, because I'm going to equate your sign with D&D stuff. So life is just a D&D campaign, according to me, except we got bad guys running our dungeon masters right now, and they don't really know what's up. Okay. Okay. This should work. This can work. Got it. I'm gonna make myself a little smaller. Oh, I thought that a dragon wanted me to help host. So let me put, oh my gosh. This needs to go on top of here. There. Okay. Beautiful. All right. Let me just, I'm doing this live, you guys. No Captain Crunch slander. You know what, Demo? I don't know if Captain Crunch is in my top 3 cereals to eat. Like, when I was growing up, I lived in like a no fun household. I wasn't allowed to eat sugary cereal, right? We had to eat oatmeal and whole wheat toast and no sugar cereal. So, what's my favorite? I love Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops is a good cereal. And was that Cinnamon Toast Crunch? Was a good one. Lucky Charms. Oh yeah, I love Lucky Charms. A burger too. Oh my gosh, that's a breakfast of champions. Have like cereal for breakfast, burger for lunch, and then what for dinner? A nice pizza. I make a good homemade crust, by the way. Okay, so edit transform. I'm gonna crop left. Doing this live. My live production stuff. Oh, I've got a flash goal. Let's do that. So, if you guys were to equate, let's say, your signs with certain stories, the way I have equated astrology is with stories in Greek and Roman mythology. I have found that that is the best way to kind of look at it. So I eat fiber cereal now. Aw. Do you spice up the fiber cereal? You know, you can make it, you know, you can add like brown sugar to it. A teaspoon of sugar makes the medicine go down. That's why my handle on Instagram is Sugar Rachel, for that reason. There we go. Right. And then I'm just gonna do this a little bit. And then top, I'm gonna just take off. Nice. Okay. Gorgeous. That's a bit better. You guys can see the chart a bit more if you're watching on YouTube, of course. Okay. Let me just take a look at this. So when it comes to looking at, you know, the stars in the sky, I look at it similar to how milk comes first of other. I'm judging. Oh, what do you mean my milk comes first? So do you guys like your cereal soaked, or is it okay if they're crunchy? I prefer crunchy cereal, but some people like to soak their cereal a lot more, and they can drink that milk after. All right, so the stars that are happening right now in the sky today, you guys, my cosmic friends, we have, let's see here, the sun and Jupiter are in Leo. Oh, that's fun. So happy birthday, Leos, right now. It only just entered Leo season. And Leo, when we think about stories associated with Leo, it's like the solar plexus, your will, all the kind of thing. Do I pour the milk before the cereal? Oh my gosh, I pour the milk after the cereal. I didn't know that was a thing. Do you put the milk in first and then the cereal? Crunchy cereal and stop. That's true. You only throw. There is a fine line. Although I do like making like crispy treats. Hell no. Oh, it's funny. Okay, so I wonder if there's a way to like, have a personality quiz of like type of cereal you like and how crunchy it is. I douse the cereal. I like that. I like that. Um, oh my gosh, I could go for a good cereal right now. Yeah. Okay. Actually, speaking of which, I wonder if I can. I'll try that next time. I've been trying to do a bit more of interactivity with like the games and gifts when we talk, but I'll set that up next time. I've, so if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the chart of the everlasting now right now. I'm just gonna go over what the planets. I totally forgot what I was gonna say. I got distracted with the talk of like cereal food deliciousness. Um, so when I do astrology, where did I just put? I have my Sailor Moon cards. Sailor Mercury, walking dog wet listing. Okay, good. So let's go into, wow, things look so different now. How do I, wow, rise with Guardian, set as gold. That's cool. Update. I don't know, TikTok did something weird. Now I can't, how do I mirror it again? This, at least I don't have restrictions. I'm a Virgo. Oh, hey, happy Virgo. Happy birthday, Virgos. I have a lot of affinity for Virgos. There. Oh, I see what it did. Bing quilling. Okay, I'm gonna write this down. So my little notepad of what the planets are, because I find with my own, uh, my mind works a lot better when I doodle or I'm writing something down. So, uh, let's see. Okay, so we have the sun in Leo. We have the moon in Capricorn. So I'm just writing this down for myself. Moon in Cap, and then Mercury is in Cancer. I'm just gonna give you guys a bit of. I'm not gonna go through. Should I go through all the planets? I don't know. Venus is in Virgo, so my Virgo friend, you're gonna have some Venus activation today. So another way to look at all the planets as like when they're sitting wherever they are in the chart today is to cross-reference it with your own chart. So that way, like that's so we're all on our own schedule, right? Whenever something is meant for you to happen, not to say that like it's like predestined per se, but there are certain more gratuitous times, let's say, for things to happen, right? It's like in D&D, when you roll the dice, you roll your D20 once you have an encounter, and you have like a certain amount that will dictate whether you succeed or fail. But knowing exactly when to let go of the dice, right? Whatever that is part of like practicing your intuition. And what I find astrology does is that it's not necessarily for you to be like, aha, it's telling me exactly what's going to happen at this time and this date, but it's more about strike when the iron's hot. Yes, and knowing exactly when to push it, when to pull back, when to like, in terms of like the game map of your life, when it might be best to perhaps go down a path that you haven't gone down ever before, right? That you haven't spent whole lifetimes going over and over and over and over again. And like this time you're going to now, I'm going to, I'm going to choose the road less traveled, right? Strike. I like that, Wendy. I'm going to uncensor it. I don't know why it censored it. Maybe it was too aggressive striking. So, the sun is in Leo. So happy birthday to all you Leos out there. The Leo is a fire sign. And so anyone who is a fire sign, so fellow Sagittariuses, Aries, this idea of like the sun being in a fire sign is activation for everyone, right? The summer, like long days, even though we have past solstice and days are getting shorter, right? It's still this level of, wow, we're about to approach harvest. So summer days, all that kind of stuff. And then we're coming towards like Virgo, right? And I always equate Virgo with like going back to school, right? Because Virgo is kind of like August, September. So we're going back to school. It's back when I used to personal train people, it was like another new year, right? Because you have a new school year, it's a new opportunity for you to like start. So it's kind of funny how like harvest, the fall, Libra, Libra and Aries are kind of like these they split the chart, right? And if we think of like the chart as like a stage, let's put it this way. See if I can doodle it for you guys. Right? So if this is like a stage and like these are all the people, like you're like watching a theater action, right? Like, oh, here. And then this is like the curtain. So you have, you know, if you guys have ever performed before, right? You have like backstage here and the curtain. So you have backstage, which isn't seen. You have like a screen here, right? And then you have front stage. So the oh hey pizza senior. So when it comes to the signs, right? You Aries typically starts here if we think of like a cosmic clock, right? So let me just double check how to draw you Aries. Yeah, this, yeah, and then Libra over on this side, and they oppose each other, right? You would think about this splitting the stage. So if you're a sign between Aries, Taurus, Gemini, um, Cancer, Leo, which we're in right now, we're like right in the middle of like front stage right now as a whole, and then Virgo, Libra, and then now we've got the backstage signs, which are like Scorpio, Sagittarius, Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces. So we have the backstage signs and the front stage signs, and you will have a different makeup of all these things, but I find that those who are in the backstage, there's also this level of being aware of like the bigger picture, right? And more interpersonal signs where you're aware of like you being part of like a bigger human family. Monster Shadow, thank you for following and thanks for the roses. We're doing a little bit of the cosmic weather for Renegade Radio, just your Monday morning broadcast to let you guys know what the planets are doing and how you can best harness the frequencies, the energies of what our universe has to offer so that you can fulfill your soul mission, your soul goals. And, you know, the so that kind of thing, if we think about you yourself as an actor, right? Like Shakespeare says, like the world is a stage and you and I are but actors in it, right? We are all wearing different types of masks, different types of personas as we interact with each other in the world, right? And all of us has a whole world within us, right? A whole universe within us so that when we're interacting with other people's universes, we play a character for them in their greater universe, right? Just as you allow people to play roles in your life, like best friend and even parent figures, right? Just because you're necessarily born into a family doesn't mean that they're your soul family. Sometimes it does work out that way, right? And August 31st, I don't know much about astrology. There's, you know, you don't have to know much other than I look at it as a practice by which you can know yourself through the stars, right? To look up, oh, no worries, Pokey. This is my morning show. I think it's a matter of figuring out where you are in respect to the blueprint and map of everything else, right? So from Aries to Pisces, that's a story of, you know, time, the wheel of time, where you start in Aries in springtime and you move through summer into harvest, into fall, into winter to regenerate and start again, right? The show that has no schedule. Exactly. But also that. So when it comes to what we're talking about now, we are in a time of, you know, activation at a collective level, right? And so in terms of like the world stage and all of us on it, us as like a planet, as a whole, right? And especially all the babies being born at this exact time, there is an extra special understanding here of what it means to lead and to be sovereign of your own soul, because we have Jupiter, right? And the sun both in the sign of Leo right now, very close together. They're very like together on front stage, right? And so when we think of, I like to look at, when I look at the planets especially, I like to equate them with Sailor Moon, and I like to equate them with the Greek and Roman myth as a way to understand yourself, right? So the sun rules Leo, right? The sun is in its home, right? Of where Leo is, right? So is Saturn worship bad? Oh, I would say that's up to you. And it depends on where you're standing. And worship's a tricky thing as well, right? As well as if we are not aware of our inner compass and we give away our deduction skills because we're in a state of worship and like a cult dictates that you believe this and this and this, right? I think understanding Saturn's symbols, let's put it this way, like Saturn is Kronos in a lot of stories, right? The equivalency is there, but they're not the same thing. It's like how Venus and Aphrodite are similar, but not exactly the same goddess, right? And I grew up very Catholic, right? I taught Sunday school, all that kind of stuff, but I also read a lot of books, a lot of science fiction. Oh yeah, hey. Are you practicing Monster Shadow? You said Kronos and time. So I'll tell you guys a story about Kronos and time. Where's Saturn right now? Because time, if you guys, I don't know if you guys are experiencing a weird feeling of like time speeding up. If you like this coiling of the spiral, it feels like our perception of time is really, really, I wouldn't say off. It may be off, but it more like shifting and changing, right? So Saturn right now is in Aries. How interesting. Have you guys heard of something called the Saturn return in your own chart? So in your astrology, right, we all get, we all think about ourselves. It's like, okay, I have the sun sign and that's my horoscope. So I'm a Taurus, right? My sun was in Taurus when I was born. But we also have a mapping of all of these other planets when we were born, right? The moon was in one place, Saturn was in one place, Pluto was in another place, right? So for me, my Saturn was in Scorpio when I was born. You will also have a placement for Saturn in your own chart. What Saturn represents in your chart is where your work lies, right? Because Saturn gets a bad rap because, he's typically like with the sickle. Saturn actually also, oh my gosh, it's escaping me now who Saturn rules. Saturn's got two rulerships. I know like he rules over Aquarius on some degree, but oh my gosh, it's escaping me right now. I have to look it up. What sign does Saturn rule? Capricorn and Aquarius. How could I forget that it was Capricorn? Sorry, Capricorn. Forgot that. Okay. I got a sweet Canadian tuxedo. Time dilation makes me sleepy and I had to adjust. It started around the beginning of July. Monster Shadow, do you want to speak a little bit more to like how you define time dilation? Because I guess it's the same thing as what I'm talking about in terms of time speeding up and a lot of prophecies in terms of like time feeling very strange. I got a sweet Canadian tuxedo. Me too. Neptune is a big one as well. The giant cube with the meteorite is a cube symbolism. Yeah. Well, there is supposed to be a black cube on top of Saturn. Negative on both those, Pokey. I did watch House of Dragon though. I caught up on my House of Dragon episode watching. I do love dragons. So, hi, Saitama. Einstein says 3 dimensions of space, 1 of time. But Einstein, I mean, as all people, these are all just theories, right? And just because, Newton, who became aware of gravity by having an apple fall on his head, was also a Freemason. And so all of our perspectives on reality are all still through our own lens, right? So uh, time isn't to be damaged, enjoyed. Oh, I think Monster Shoutout's up to you. Like, do you think that Saturn worship is a bad thing? I think worship of what Saturn represents is a bad thing. Bad thing. Like if we worship time, right? If we start to, well, I mean, there's a lot of sci-fi movies about this. Remember Justin Timberlake was in that movie, like In Time, or like you're trying to get more time, or even like the replicants in Blade Runner, they only have like a 30-year lifespan or something. So this concept of trying to buy more time, get more time. I think if we fall into that trap of a time trap, not realizing if we let go and through death we regenerate, right? The cycles of time, the idea of how the sun views time versus how Saturn views time. Because the sun, we have sundials, that's a way of keeping time. But the sun dies every night and comes back every morning. And that's why oracles are also involved with Apollo and stuff, because you can predict the fact that the sun will always rise the next day, even though we don't know that for sure, right? We don't know. Like tomorrow could be the end of all days today, and tomorrow the sun just doesn't rise. We expect it because we know it, right? Um, I just, I never know what time it is. Time is what is now. We have the everlasting now, right? Just like Titan AE, right? And that quote Matt Damon says where, everyone keeps talking about the future, 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 but every time I wake up and it's still just the present. So maybe this whole future thing is just made up. Maybe it's just all in your head, right? We're just grasping at what it could be. No, we don't know for sure. And I think where we can have some allowance for being like, okay, I don't really have it all figured out. This is like my best hypothesis. And then I'm going to, have a fun way of determining whether or not that works, right? Or not, right? What if our bodies are aging because we're convincing ourselves of time? I really love you said, Genzo. Prince actually said that too, where he doesn't celebrate birthdays. You're only born once, that it's really a solar return. The sun is just coming back to a point where when you were born again, right? But if we look at, like I was born in 1985, if we look at April 24th, 1986, the sun will come back, but all the other planets will have moved, right? So looking at that in yourself, like you're also born in a very, very exquisitely specific time for you to have a very specific character sheet in this reality, right? And I do have this feeling that we have chosen that, right? You choose this life, even though sometimes it feels really crazy, right? Just because certain trials require, just like a sword being honed in the hearth, right? Being banged and even though you're using perhaps the most perfect metal, it still needs to be formed into what it is meant to be, right? I don't speak a lot. I'm afraid a certain vocal vibration contributes to a bad manifestation indirect. There's some truth to that. I would say that I'm very soft spoken as well, right? Reaction of a reaction. Hey, I could do that. Pokey, for sure. Okay, so let's go back to the cosmic clock, you guys. This is like my day show where we talk about this is Monday. I used to do a lot more astrology content when I first discovered astrology, but then I realized it was just one facet of understanding reality. And I'm saying understanding on purpose because we only really have our perspective, right? You're only ever seeing out of your eyes, hearing through your ears, speaking through your voice, right? So we only have that to work with. And then when we have conversations like this, or we have relationships with others, we get to have a collision, collaboration, a spark between two worlds, right? Just like that's why I love the crisis storylines in the DC universe. It's why, the Marvel Doomsday trailer or any of the huge crossovers between universes, they're so wonderful for me because it's a way of modeling things that are really hard to just like think of in your head, right? And astrology has been around for forever as just a way for us to interpret the cosmos and something that perhaps is not necessarily interpretable. And we just do our best. And through that, we create things like art and music and these live streams and things that we just playing here to figure things out. Untrue. I'm doing osmosis referencing. So you've watched it. So through you, I've also watched it, right? Like the 12th monkey thing. Hey Keaton, how are you? Aw, thank you, Dino. Um, it's hard to keep it all straight in the different comics, but I think, what I've learned is that that's why there's a multiverse. The different versions and different things can all be true, right? But you do have anchor points in a lot of timelines that ensure that something is of a thing, right? Um, I've found that in like D&D, for example, when we talk about things like good, neutral, evil, and chaos, neutral, order, the layout of all that and canon events, yeah, Pokey, exactly, crux events. Like, for example, if we take DC Multiverse and we take the live action movies that were made with Batman in 1989 and onward, right, with Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman, that is a certain type of Batman, right? It's a certain vibe and a look. And Batgirl in that is Alicia Silverstone, and she's Alfred Pennyworth's niece, where in all the other universes, she's Commissioner Gordon's daughter. So those two versions of Barbara Gordon or Barbara both exist, right? And depending in your world, in your imagination, whom you want to play Batgirl is up to you. And I've realized that with myself too, that I've learned not to become so possessive of the characters that I love, right? Because sometimes we love a character so much that if like a casting is wrong to us, we're like, oh, you're ruining my character, right? Like, that's not right. That's not the way it's done. And because we have a very specific version in our heart of very like the first comic book you read, let's say a certain version of Superman, a certain version of that story, that's going to have a very particular meaning for you because maybe it was like the comic book that your dad gave you, or it's the first comic book where like you really, really resonated with this character you first discovered, Nightwing in my case, right? And so that comic book's going to mean something very specific for me. It also has a meaning in the greater universe, but I've learned to realize that like what it means for me does not trump what it means for everyone else, right? It's not more important. It's more like a tapestry and interconnecting with other people's versions, right? Oh yeah, I'm gonna be heading back to Toronto very soon, you guys. I gotta get a bunch of my stuff and restart everything, I've been going through a period of rebuilding all of that kind of stuff. Okay. I'm half South African too, right? That's the thing, Pokey. Like when you say I'm Asian, so you're negating a whole half of me. And that's like when you say what someone appears to be like a certain thing, there's all this other stuff underneath, right? But at the same time, I've learned to realize like I can't necessarily control what other people's perceptions of me are, right? People are going to think what they want to think. What is more important is how I view myself, and not in like a selfish, weird kind of way. It's like because for a long time, my mom used to really, really shame me, being like, no one's ever going to like you because you're Filipino, right? Because you're like this, like, she was almost like racist to her own self, and that rubbed off on me in terms of my own self-image of that. And so even now I get almost like my sister, for example, really, really hates it. Being called just Filipino because we're not, right? My dad's South African, my grandfather was Black, my grandmother is Dutch. So to say that I'm just Asian negates a whole part of like my history and who I am. And yet at the same time, I can't fault people for not knowing exactly what that is by just looking at me, right? Or like guessing or having their own experiences, right? So but so are you guys, right? Just because maybe you're full Finnish or you're full Scottish, you're not like everyone else who's Scottish, right? You're just this is just one part of what makes you you, right? And because I never could check a box because I'm my mom being Filipino, my dad being South African, and I was born in the prairies. I was born in Winnipeg, Manitoba, right in the middle of like Canada, right? So I'm Canadian, right? I was born in Canada, but I was also born in a land that had people living on it prior to the Canadian government coming in and claiming that it was theirs, right? And that's a good way to switch it. Oh, thank you. You only live forever. Um, let me just, oh my gosh. I'm gonna put this to the side, my little astro chart thing, so I can pick this bigger. And I'm gonna talk about the bigger things that I've been dealing with personally. And bring this to a more, I guess, conclusion and an invitation to join the Cosmic Comic Book Club and all that. I'm actually using my desktop. I know, right? And you only live forever. I love you just the way you are too. We can, well, not yet, Pokey, because I still have to get a bunch of things from Toronto. So, okay. Let me let you guys in on a story. So, this year, my birthday's on April 24th, so 4 days after 420. We had to leave Toronto in a panic. It was like a state of personal safety and emergency. I'm not going to get into details as to what that is, just because there's like a could be a legal aspect to it, nor am I trying to blame and shame anyone about anything. Okay. So an incident happened, right? And then myself, my hubby, and Wolfie had to flee, right? And I did not know what to necessarily pack for. So all of my cosplay, so my Marvel cosplay, so Jean Grey, all of my Lilu from Fifth Element, my Samus Aran cosplay, a lot of my cosplay is in my tickle trunk, right? They're in Toronto, right? Beanie. Of course you can, Matt. Yeah, that's why like now that my hair is all grown out too, right? So that was in April. Now, came out here and I finally started going to therapy, right? So after like I'm 41, right? So I finally started going to therapy. So back when I used to live in Winnipeg, I used to volunteer at a community health center called Clinic with a K, and I used to do sexual health education for like anyone who's like in dangerous practices, right? So we had free testing, free condoms, a safe place to kind of like be a counselor to talk about things like that. Um, yeah, so I did all that kind of stuff. I was on like crisis teams. I volunteered for like Kids Help Phone, all that kind of stuff because I wanted to be a therapist. I wanted to be a therapist. I wanted to be a child therapist, actually, because I had such a terrible childhood that I wanted to make it so that, kids would realize that there was someone out there listening, right? And to let them know that the adults in your life don't always know what's going on, and to hold on, right, when things seem dark, right? Oh, it's your birthday, Matt. I don't have a video with you right away, but maybe on a later stream, right? So keep that in mind. So I came back, did therapy, and as I was going through this, you go through memories, right? And just like in Doctor Sleep, we can put our memories into these like boxes, right? Especially when trauma happens, right? Where I'm like, okay, my mom destroyed a favorite toy of mine that was very special to me, right? That goes into this box. But also, we had fun family trips going out camping and things, right? So it's like all these memories get put into these like boxes, and then you like put them into like a closet and you like close the door and forget about them, right? So I do need a portfolio, right? Um, Here's the thing though, when I entered corporate, I had to do a hiding of a lot of my professional modeling photos because they weren't professional. So, I don't want to forget to open the door, right? So, yeah, so that's what I did for a while. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna put like, see, like in Doctor Sleep, how Halloran he's like, hey, if you have like, if you can see dead people, if you can see like those other worlds, just like make a chest for them, make a like construct in your mind. And so, even if you do things like dream interpretation, right? That's another way if you want to interpret your own dreams. Things like being in a house, if you're going from like one room to another, you're like opening a door and going into that room, or if you're going to an airport or you're in a train station, these are like ways of your mind modeling traversing planes, right? So, Matt, I'm gonna have to mute you if you keep asking because I won't be able to do it now because obviously I'm wearing a headphone. Yeah. I don't have one on me right now. I have one upstairs, but I won't do that on this live. So in terms of that, keeping it, and my headphones are in order, right? Because we're doing the Renegade radio thing, right? Like, cats, right? I love cats because if you guys have seen the Love, Death, and Robots, they have a little like one where like the cats can traverse realms and they protect poets and all of you artistic people from like the forces of evil that try to take over your artistic works, right? You can hear him in the side. Renegade Radio is arriving. Well, PCJP, hey, that was a pretty good one. Order in the court, order in the headphones. Okay, so do my own bonnet. Okay, thank you, Toki, appreciate it. And thank you for the heart me, PCJP. So if you're watching on YouTube, hello as well. I'm going to probably wrap this live up in like 20 minutes, but I wanted to leave it with the fact that I will be going live every Monday. This is like my Renegade radio station, which I hopefully will be turning into a real AM radio station. I want to build my own radio, like, with the coils and stuff and like transmitters and receivers and all that nerdy Batgirl stuff in my bat cave. And did you chat, Pokey? Oh, wait. I see it. Oh my gosh, I just wasn't paying attention. Oh my gosh, it works. I can see the chat. Oh my gosh. Faraday cage. CRTC wouldn't know what hit. I'm going to make a pirate radio station, PCJP, which I have to figure out how to do a scramble and all that kind of stuff. And I probably shouldn't talk about that on the regular airwaves, to be honest with you guys. But it's a throwback to, like coast to coast radio stations sharing stories of like weird alien encounters and like trippy stories, Twilight Zone, that kind of stuff with some music as well. I do find things like synthwave music, a lot of certain genres of music are a little bit more copyright friendly than the top 40 stuff. So I won't have to worry about music licensing there, hopefully, which makes Meld Wednesday easier for you. Okay, we could probably do it tomorrow, actually, because then that would, actually, oh my gosh, let me get organized in terms of what I actually want to tell you guys and then end. I plan to turn my main page into a Faraday cage and use it for meditation. Nice. You only live forever. Do you have any tips for people to meditate and what you basically use to get into a meditative state? It can be really hard to get into like a quiet mind state with all of the distractions, all the stuff in our mental world trying to vie for our attention, right? And 0.999. Yeah. So going back to my story and coming back to like, I guess, reintroducing myself and how things are going to be going forward in terms of this live, what I'm doing with Caduceus, the go-go dance stuff, the cosplay stuff, and the production stuff. it's taken a long while to do any of these things because I have been in between two places. Because we had to flee with only a limited amount of our things in April, I we came over to my dad's place, right? And initially, I had this concept of like, okay, perhaps I would have a studio here in Winnipeg at my dad's house. But um, I've realized that that's not necessarily the path forward that I want to take in terms of it, right? Um, I will be filming a movie starting next year called Escape from District 6. I'm still funding that on Indiegogo. Hi, John McNary. But all of the movies and the books and all of it are all part of my Dragon Warriors universe. So when I was 14, I was graduating grade 8 with all my friends, and I was going from a small little Catholic school to St. Mary's Academy, which is like this all girls Catholic school, which has a lot in common with the Benny Gesserit and Dune. Super creepy. I had a reverend mother, all that kind of stuff. And when you're in grade 12, you got to go down like the secret little alcoves to the secret chapel and the secret theater in the basement. And also, my high school is actually older than the province of Manitoba itself. Is it my math is wrong? It probably is wrong, regardless. So, 1999, I graduated from grade 8 because it's the summer of 1999, right? And then I went to grade 9 of that year, whichever that is, I think. And I got my times are all screwed up because of when I left to Toronto as well, because I didn't stay for graduation here. Whole long story short of it is I wrote a book and then forgot about it and then only rediscovered it later. So I went back and to my 14-year-old self to rewrite the book and do it. Now, in this book, the way I have it going is that your astrology, right, is essentially the blueprint of how you traverse reality, right? So it's a matter of the game of life mirroring a higher cosmic game on a higher level. Just like how in the Iliad and the Odyssey, if you read those poems by Homer, and movies do this and sometimes don't do this, but in those stories, you have something that's going on at a cosmic level with the gods and goddesses, and then something else that's going on in terms of like their champions, right? So how should I put this? The gods and goddesses have their own issues with each other, fighting, right? And then the champions of those are also fighting, right? It feels like the year so far has been 3 months, 100% Monster Shadow. That's a great segue into the timeline stuff. So I have now only come back to realizing a certain way forward. I have been almost in like a stasis, like Supergirl, since coming back to Winnipeg because there's been a lot of unpacking of old memories and reframing my own story of my life, right? Because I've had to tell a lot of lies to hide the fact that my childhood was what it was. I have had to like undo a lot of that in my own head to realize what is real and what was made up. And then also, sometimes our memories are just faulty, right? And they can sometimes look and feel different from a child's point of view, and then a different point of view when you're an adult, looking at it like as an eagle eye view, as like a person almost watching a movie of your life, right? So, going through all that for me personally has been a lot. I've almost been a little arrogant about it, being like, that's easy. I've already done all the healing, right? I've already done my whole dark night of the soul. I've already done my like psychedelic journey of like, 8 grams of mushrooms and like, had reality explode and realize what this all is, right? It's so not as easy to take certain lessons once you even know and integrate it, right? Yeah, Monster Shadow, I concur. Same. Like you suppress the memories because even going through the memories again, you're going to have a somatic response in your body, right? And so sometimes I don't think we realize we need to have this space in order to go through those memories, right? So giving yourself time, whether or not you're gonna like make yourself a nice bath or like lay down in a comfy spot, right? With listening to like, it doesn't have to be meditation music per se. It can just be music that helps to regulate your nervous system so you get into this state of relaxation, right? I do like to talk about that, but that's not for today. I will say that in terms of getting a hold of the time and timelines, I've had to do a lot of like letting go of old dreams I've had for myself from a perspective of like what the world was even, what I thought the world was, right? Whatever your happy place is, and you have to go into that state, right? It's a matter of like, okay, in the simple things, that's where life is, right? In the whole like brushing your teeth, in the whole like just taking a walk with the dog, in all this, that's life, right? As opposed to these huge things like graduation or a wedding or this kind of stuff. Like that's cool and all, but really like all these little things, that conversation you have with like a friend you haven't like seen in forever, these little wins and stuff, they end up mattering more in the grand scheme of things. And so I think it's just having the space and time to like recognize that and realize that, and realizing we can make more time. And so bringing it back to, let's say, Saturn right now, Saturn being in Aries right now, is a lot of us taking ownership and, uh, let's say, authorship of our timeline in our own story. And we are not on anyone else's timeline but your own. Whether or not you get married at 18 or married at 50 or married at all doesn't matter, right? What matters is in your story of life that you experience everything that you wanted to in the limited time that you have here, like a game time, right? You dive into the game and you have 2 minutes in the game, right? I think that there's opportunities in the game to pause, right? Where like you can just get a handle of being like, okay, perhaps I have been going in the wrong direction. Let me look at the map, right? I'm very bad at looking at maps in video games. That's why I like playing player too, because hubby and my sister, they can help me like, where am I supposed to go? Where is the drop off point? Where is this? So like looking at a map in like the mall, or like you are here and like where are you relative to everyone else? And so north, south, east, and west is going to be dependent on where you're standing, right? And if you're following a map where like that configuration is off, you may be going in the wrong way. And once you know that, it can be quite difficult to reconfigure, right? And so that's why having practices in your own self to, change direction, realize what relationships have reached their course and what new relationships are waiting for you to discover them just around the river bend, right? Take my fish for a walk. So, leaving it with this, you guys, that I do have my Cosmic Comic Book Club meeting this Wednesday for the full moon. It is $5 a month to join the Cosmic Comic Book Club and join the private group on Discord. Today, I'm doing a lot of work on Ko-Fi to reorganize all of the roles so that it's a little bit more aligned. And during this Cosmic Comic Book Club, every full moon, we'll do a read of a full moon, but we're also going to do an analysis. And this first meeting, this first gathering, we're going to talk about timelines with respect to the Legion of Superheroes because they deal with the future. But it's not just that. It's more timelines in all story, right? So everything from like Terminator, Looper, X-Men Days of Future Past, where the future impacts the past. You know how like Cable is like really old, but Cyclops is his dad, but Cyclops is always like almost like always younger than Cable in most things, right? Yeah, the X-Force. Yes, that's a good tagline. I'm good at puzzles. I'm bad at maps. I get confused with like how maps work. And like, where am I? And even radars. I'm like, what is that? Like, don't you see it on the radar? I'm like, I can't aim and look at the map at the same time. Cable, right? So like, a lot of these characters to play with like the past and the future and that kind of thing. Like, a story I know off the top of my head is, Rachel Summers, who is Jean Grey, and Scott Summers' daughter. She's from the future, right? And she comes back through time to teach the ethics of time travel to the X-Men, right? So Rachel Summers is an interesting character. I also have the name Rachel, so I like her a lot. But she in some storylines, she has a relationship with either Franklin Richards or with Psylocke, depending, right? And in a story where Rachel and Psylocke go on this journey and they end up in the Macrob crystal. And the Macrob crystal, I'm not saying it right, is the crystal that holds a place called the White Hot Room. And the White Hot Room is like this room in the Marvel universe where all the hosts of the Phoenix Force live eternally, right? Pretty sure she tried killing them too through at some point some time travel. Yeah, of course, you only live forever. If Cable and Thanos are the same actor, how does the timeline explain that? Well, Iron Man and Doctor Doom are also going to be the same actor too, so Marvel has a lot of explaining to do when it comes to that. For the past, the present, and the future all happening at the same time. Yes, and Dr. Manhattan as a character is a wonderful character in terms of how that can be experienced in a character, right? His panels, it's 1985 and it's 1994 and it's 2020 all at the same time. He's experiencing all those timelines simultaneously. That's why he's like always like confused of like where he is. It's also why wizards, I feel like, are confused most of the time. They don't know like what timeline. Where am I? What timeline is this? Which reality am I in? And it makes sense too because they're typically very overpowered. So there's got to be some sort of limiting factor there, right? Um so on Wednesday, yes, we'll be doing a focus. We'll be reading from Crisis, not we'll be reading from Crisis, Final Crisis, as well as Legion of Superheroes. But the talk afterwards will be about time travel in comic books and stories, mainly stories, like in general, but a focus on comic books. And we'll do a lot of like timeline mapping. So if you guys have your own versions of stories, it will be a good time for you to bring those to light. Like also in your own personal timelines. When was the first time that you read certain storylines? When were you first exposed to the Infinite Crisis storyline? Because even though Crisis on Infinite Earths came out in 1985, right, as the story, the animated version that just came out like 2022, riffs on it, brings Constantine into the story, but it's still the core story from 1985. So it's kind of cool to see how these different reality bending storylines have also changed through time. And there's a lot of prophecy in a lot of the stories, especially since self-proclaimed magicians like Alan Moore, Grant Morrison, even writers like Jeff Johns, they have done a lot of like, I mean, some of these stories, they really go there in terms of like what we can expect from the future and what it would really mean once we start to express special abilities. And so that's why we'll do a little bit of a cross-reference between the Legion of Superheroes and the X-Men. Oh, thank you. The DJ headphones. Thank you for You Only Live Forever. Oh yes, we are so playing the new Halo game. And hopefully, Pokey, we'll have Meld Studio set up tomorrow. And so I have a crappy capture card. But yeah, we'll be playing Halo for sure. For sure, for sure. Jeff Johns and the Lantern Universe, 100% Ilrev. But it'd be fun too to actually take. So my three favorite comic book authors are Alan Moore, Grant Morrison, Jeff Johns. Special shout out to Marv Wolfman for creating Nightwing, as well as writing Crisis on Infinite Earths. My favorite superhero, probably the gun. Yeah, I know. Pokey, my capture card is so shitty. I'll do that though. and maybe we can work with it. um, you only live forever. I'll give you guys maybe a positive spin on universes that perhaps we don't necessarily like as much. That at least there will be exposure to the greater world of these stories that are very niche, right? I can't tell you the amount of times I have read in a comic book where I felt like the universe is talking to me and giving me like an inspirational, like, come on, Rachel, you can do this. If these superheroes with all these powers have like are going through this, like even if you have superpowers, you end up with super problems, right? The challenge you have in life will come up to meet you where you're capable of. It's why writing a good villain has been very difficult, I think, for a lot of movies, right? Because, um, yeah, yeah, everything is children and cages are perverted, but he corrupts. Yeah, and James Gunn's got some sketchy stuff with the kids, right? And yeah, yeah. Keith Griffin's Return of Losh. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Go you got so if you guys want to join the Cosmic Comic Book Club, I'll be offering a first month free. Just DM me and I can add you to that channel. And on Ko-Fi, I am doing like commissions and stuff. All the cosplay stuff is going to be there. Now, as it comes to this show, the Renegade radio show, the show that I'm eventually going to hopefully have on AM radio waves and all the kind of good stuff when the grid goes down and all we have is analog, right? Sketch. um, how should I end this in a way that kind of makes sense? You know, the frequencies, right? This is the frequency wars. And so those who tell the stories rule the world. And so as the world is hitting this point where we remember certain things and who we are, there's going to be a sweet chin music. Don't get them out of time. Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay. So join that on Wednesday. We're going to talk so much more about timelines, all the different reworking of time and how, like, like for example, in Terminator, I hope this isn't a spoiler for you guys, but in Terminator, right? Skynet sends back a Terminator, right, to kill Sarah Connor so that John Connor is never born and John Connor never leads the resistance to defeat Skynet, right? So in doing that, the resistance sends Kyle Reese back in time in order to stop the Terminator from killing Sarah Connor. And in doing that, Kyle Reese becomes John Connor's father, right? So he mates. he has a relationship with Sarah Connor and they have John Connor, right? So isn't that a weird loop? If Skynet never came to power, then John Connor would never be born because you never would have sent that person back in time to have John Connor who's born from the future. We would need a whiteboard, 100%. We will have a whiteboard. Behind me, I will have, so that way we can have like the different, we have a timeline and then we'll map it all. I have like little visuals ready, right? Because this is superhero school. Let's map the time. And you know what? Who knows? We might open a portal. The whiteboard of confusion. The grandfather paradox. I think the grandfather paradox is that if I invent a time travel machine, but it's part of it, I think, Pokey. If there's different, I think, riffs on it, that if I invent a time travel machine and I go back in time and I kill my grandfather, then I'm never born. But there is an explanation for that because there's the way I kind of look at it is like branching, right? That you have, let's say you have like this start of a universe and you have like these different possibilities, right? And you branch off into these possibilities, or like this one maybe ends and this one has like only two possibilities and this one has this. If you time travel, let's say you're here and you want to stop this branch from ever ending, you could only go back to a main crux point, right? But that doesn't mean this branch will then continue. You're just going to make a new branch that ends up with the same point and then you can maybe go forward, right? I don't think it messes you. Once something has happened, it has already always happened. I think that's the way Dr. Manhattan puts it. But that doesn't mean that we don't have the ability to make something net new, right? Um, you have to become your own grandfather, right? So that I have to make myself, or like Back to the Future, right? When Marty McFly goes back in time and like his mom finds him attractive and he has to like help his dad get with his mom, otherwise he's not going to be born. Yeah, the differences of time travels, different timelines and alternate dimension. Like, for example, in Looper, right? If you guys have seen the movie Looper, where like you have to go back in time and close the loop by assassinating your past self or something. So so all these different movies have different ways in which they have time travel is working. So there's that, but there's also a greater understanding as to how time works. So if we cross-reference a main understanding of that with all the different stories that have been done thus far that consider time travel, perhaps there's a way of maybe we'll build our own time machine, you guys. You want to do that? What would a time machine really look like, right? Or is it just traveling through your mind? So homework for you guys. You don't have to if you don't want to, but come to Wednesday's chat with movies and comic book stories that deal with time travel, right? And remaking of universes, going to the beginning of time, resetting the timeline, all that kind of stuff, because we're going to unpack all of that on Wednesday. And tomorrow, me and Pokey, we will. I don't do homework. You know, some of you smarties, though, sometimes don't need to do homework. You already have it all in here. So, yes, Ilrev, Somewhere in Time with Christopher Reeves. That is oh my gosh, I was literally about to bring that up. And Christopher Reeves is Superman, right? And in that, he travels through time by like making sure everything around him is of that timeline, right? Like the rings are the same, everything's the same, so that he believes in his mind state that he's of that time. Um, JDB, that is just a construct. You've only 60 seconds per minute. You're so funny. I love that. It lives with me constantly. I am the homework. And you know, I mean, if you guys have played video games, right, that's also another way of playing with time, right? Because when you're entering the game time, or even you play basketball or any kind of sports game time, that's why when you know, the clock is set, there's 10 seconds left, and you have 10 seconds to make the right play to get the point, right? But you have like timeout, but we can all strategize how to use those 10 seconds. I think what's happening right now in our reality is that we can do that. So even though, let's say there's maybe not a lot of time left, we can make those last 10 seconds last infinity if we really wanted to. But if you want to, do you want to do that? Like, there's a whole level of like playing with immortality and whether or not that's something that is wanted or not, right? Maybe time travel doesn't involve a machine, but a bioorganic alien. Monster Shadow X, I don't know if it necessarily, like, maybe we're the aliens, you know? Maybe it's like us from the future, like millennia in the future, just trying to ensure that we get to a point that we actually can become us, kind of thing. I don't know. And Loki does a good job too because it also plays with Ragnarok, right? So Loki and Thor and the Norse mythology, they already have built in it the cycle of time where Ragnarok, yes, is the end of all things, but it's only like Ragnarok of a cycle, right? After Ragnarok, you like rebuild the world and we start all over again. And there we go. The TV series. I know. I have to catch up on all those things, right? Interstellar is a good one. I don't want to be physically yeah. Yeah. This material realm is not meant to be it's not meant to play those games that way, right? There's a beauty in the fact that it is temporal, right? That line that Achilles says by Brad Pitt says in Troy, where even the gods envy mortals because there's nothing more beautiful than this moment right now. This moment has happened and then it is gone. Even though everything is always happening, our perspective is like a point of a needle, right? On a record that is like this moment. And so to be lucid and aware of what's happening right here, right now, especially when you're one of those beings who is hyper aware of everything happening at once, that you're right here, right now, and lucid in this moment so you don't miss the messages, right? Because it's not going to be like with a big hammer, like, hey, listen to me. It'll be very subtle, right? And when your heart flutters and says, like, okay, maybe now, just to like learn to trust it and listen, that little message, whatever it is. And I don't think that so food tastes good again, nothing. Oh, let me read that. Yes, we can. Yeah, food tastes like sweet, right? Do you think the future has gone into the past to install time travel devices for any moment? Monster Shadow X, what do you think the temples are? I don't know. I feel like there's a level in the temples that if we go into certain sacred spots on certain ley lines and sing the right frequency at the right time and configure it. Actually, you know what? I'll end this with a Zatanna thing from Bombshells because it's a nice message to lead into the Cosmic Comic Book Club. Where'd it go? Let me see. One sec. That's just Power. I love Power Rangers though. Give me a dragon, or not a dragon mech. I'll take a dragon mech once. Okay. I haven't seen. Okay, so in this Bombshells book, there's a part with Zatanna. I have to return this to the library. It's so overdue. But they don't charge me overdue fees, and I have to contact them. Be like, I haven't been able to be back in Toronto. So also too, I have a GoFundMe as well to help support the move to get my stuff back from Toronto because we left in such a panic. It was such a crazy time, that thing. I also I'm starting a new job here at the University of Manitoba very soon. So that's happening, and a lot of moving, all that kind of stuff. I met JDF before he died. He gave me a shout out on IG. That's cool. Oh my gosh. Oh, Green Power Ranger forever, and the Dragon Zord. Lots of love, and the flute, right? Um, and hey, Samurai Ninja. So I'm gonna end this. I'm on YouTube as well. In the future I will have like the panels of these things. I've been trying to work on like what the tech looks like for that. And actually maybe Pokey, we can talk about that tomorrow too, in terms of how to best screen share and like different layouts that work best. And it's also like different ways that I can have the chatbot look, and so I don't miss anything. So in Bombshells, if you guys aren't familiar with Bombshells, it's an alternate universe in the DC world, right? In this universe, even it's a much more positive universe, actually, right? It's one where even Batman's mother and father aren't killed, right? Catwoman actually ends up training Batman because she's like, every world needs a Batman. And speaking of anchor points, for Batman, an anchor point, of course, is when his parents are murdered. And so it's how does one become who you're meant to be when certain anchor points are missing in that timeline? Or perhaps that's just a world where there is no Batman, right? Okay. So I wanted to read you guys just a part of this from the Abyss. As a way of inviting you guys to our timeline discussion on Wednesday as part of the Cosmic Comic Book Club. I'm going to be on a little bit later today as Supergirl. We're going to do a little read of a standalone Supergirl comic book. And then on Wednesday is going to be the full moon comic book read. I'm going to be cosplaying as Saturn Girl from the Legion of Superheroes. And we're going to talk about timelines. So please do join us for that. The Discord server, Ko-Fi, it's just $5 a month. And if you can't afford the $5, please do let me know. I can just add you to it, the first month being free. All right, so we have the Joker. Yeah, the Joker that laughs. There's a version of that in this kind of, but let's just jump into it. The king beneath the black wakes once, a restless ancient dreamer, dreaming hideous dreams. He casts his eye above at his lost bride and loses interest in the world above. Turns over to sleep for generations more. So they were really trying to summon this, like, you know how like Cthulhu and all like the elder gods and like Lovecraft universe, like, oh, the monsters from the abyss. The bad guys were trying to summon, you know, the monsters to come into their realm and then that kind of stuff, right? But in Berlin, she's like looking in her like crystal ball. And now, last among his servants, only one remains, her to all the power left behind. Me. I promised you, Zatanna, you would never escape. I will find you. So, this Joker's daughter, remember Zatanna? I love you, Zatanna. I don't even have my Zatanna cosplay with me, but I'm going to get her. Right? So, next full moon reading will be hosted by Zatanna, and we're going to talk about magic. So, that will be next month in July. No, sorry. This will be July's read. And then next month's August full moon read will be about magic. And I will have Zatanna hosting it. So nice thing. It's a little shout out to Miss Z. I promised you, Zatanna, says Joker's daughter, you would never escape. I will find you. I will make you the next daughter. Or I will let the magic devour you alive. Huh? Wait a minute. No, no, my king. I have only ever served you, my lord, my liege. Aye. So much for that, bad guys. And then in New York City, we have Zatanna, John Constantine, and Raven walking out of the portal, as they do. New York City, John, Raven. The distress beacon came from here, but there is no attack in this city. No monsters, no danger. Except for me, so that that evil Joker's daughter lady, who's not actually Joker's daughter, it's kind of like a cult. She has her like weird evil magics to get over, like take over Zatanna. So it's taking over Zatanna, the evil green magic, right? You can see. And John Constantine yells out, Zatanna, the Joker's daughter, she lives, she's done this, cursed me, and made me the last weapon. Get back my love, my child, get back. For I have become death, the destroyer of worlds. The end. So, good way to look for time, right? So if we had just had an issue of this comic book and that's the way it ends, that's the way that story ends, right? Zatanna gets taken over by Joker's daughter and she becomes that weapon, right? Also look, oh, thank you. I love Zatanna. I want her back. I want to play her again. Also, this version of her, cute, right? With her little like top hat and stuff. And I love Zatanna because not only is she a magic user, she is also a performance magician. So there's a beautiful little thing there about performing magic and also being adept at real magic. And to quote Sam Neill from Merlin, rest in power, Sam Neill, he does this whole trick with a girl in the Merlin show where he pretends to pull the moon out of the sky. And she goes, oh my gosh, is that magic is real? And Merlin says, oh, no. That was just a trick. Magic, real magic is real, right? So, yeah, so more of that. And I've been learning on how to do magic tricks with Wolfie as my my magic companion, right? Can I say shit backwards? Yes, I'm working on it. It's coming. So after this page, so just to get you guys with terms of timelines and in your own stories, if you're going through dark moments, right? If we just close the book here, that's the end, right? Kind of a sad ending, right? Zatanna gotten taken over. That's the end. But guess what? We can always turn the page. There will always be more if you have the courage to keep pushing, right? So New York City, Zatanna is now taken over by the Joker's daughters, like evil, nefarious magic stuff, right? And just to all you magic users out there, you're sensitive too. So oftentimes magic users, telepaths, the bad guys like to take advantage of them or try to like get in there to mess with their minds in order to make them do bad stuff. So it's just, yes, yes, PCJP, it is always most dark before the dawn. So just keep holding on, keep turning the page, keep moving forward. There will be more to the story if you choose, right? Now, so Zatanna leaps up and flies up into the air, saying, Raven, John, I cannot hold the Joker's daughter's magic back. I cannot protect you. So go now and leave me. Like a true hero, right? So it's like when Jean Grey like get possessed by the Phoenix, or you're possessed by this cosmic entity and you can't control the power. Just like, get away from me. I'm gonna fly up as far as I can to just get some space because it'll hurt you, right? So for you guys too, harnessing power and being aware of like, your loved ones around me if you're practicing such things, just to be aware. So Raven, John, I cannot hold the Joker's daughter's magic back and I cannot protect you. So go now and leave me. Hi, Sean. Thanks for following. But if this, I love this part. So let me say it properly. This is what I love about comic books. Locked in this comic book is this line. And I feel like sometimes if people don't read comic books or they don't care about the story, they would never get to this point and never read it, right? So I'm going to read it to you guys so it's on the record because I think it's important. Go now and leave me. But if this is the time and the place that have come to me, if this is the story I can make of my life so that others may have lives and songs and stories yet, I am ready. I am ready one last time to sing. Dug, right? Goodbye backwards. And there's a big cruk thom. So remember, Zatanna says goodbye backwards, right? I dug, right? I dug. So goodbye, right? The courage to say goodbye. So in doing that, there is a big explosion, right? John and Raven yell out, Zatanna, worried, right? Hi, Zono X. I'm just reading a little bit of bombshells before my phone dies from Zatanna because I'm trying to get back my Zatanna cosplay. So all your support, you guys, go towards us, our little trip back to Toronto to retrieve our cosplay. And I can finally get my cosplay calendars up and going, all the shoots, all that stuff, because we've been in kind of a stasis because of us dealing with like fleeing a certain situation, really trying to get individuation as to who we are, what we're meant to do here, and then come back triumphant, right? So also too, Wednesday is the full moon. I have the Cosmic Comic Book Club. We are first full moon gathering on Discord. I'll be doing some of it on TikTok as well, though, as well. Oh, I have not. Please, I think it's in my link tree. I hope it's not expired yet, but I'll send it to you directly soon. If you recite the oath, I will recharge your phone. Elrim, I love that. Oh my gosh, why did it censor it? I have to be Jessica Cruz for that, though, I feel like. How cool would that be? Okay, won't even let me uncensor that comment, Rev. Maybe because you're on the nose. You got something there. Got something going on there. Okay. Apocalypse. Apocalypse destroyed. Please, Z. Zatanna. Zatanna. Not so loud, my loves. You see, I am still here. And I think that is victory enough. Apocalypse vanquished. So because Zatanna, that magic, she let the magic enter her and she had an act of self-sacrifice, of I do goodbye to willingly Phoenix herself, that resets everything. Apocalypse vanquished, everything is fantastic, and the war is over. So that's what I'm putting out into the universe in terms of comic book magics and stuff like that. Um, I am not as familiar. Funny you bring that up, Sono X. My little sister loves the Kingdom Come continuity, like old Superman and stuff, the old grizzled versions of them. I guess maybe it speaks to our age too, as well. And also, it has a lot in common, I find, with like Old Man Logan storylines, like these characters who, let's say, having a long life, what that means to have watch everyone around you fall to time, right? Like elves, people who have longer lifespans in that regard. Some people want to live forever, but in many cases, it can be sometimes a curse, right? So be careful what you wish for. Be careful of your magics, but also have hope, right? Have wonder. Be aware of how beautiful and special it is to be alive right now, even though times can seem crazy, right? It's truly a miracle, right? Okay, guys, I'm gonna have to say goodbye because A, my phone's dying, and B, I do have to figure out some stuff in terms of the studio stuff on YouTube, as well as Beam has taken away multi-streaming without paying for it. So I'm gonna see if I can get that back. So we will have to do Meld Studio to deal with the multi-streaming thing before Wednesday. So remember to sign up for the full moon gathering on Wednesday. It's the stag full moon. We're going to be looking at timelines and comic books with a special focus on the Legion of Superheroes and the Crisis storylines and mapping that all up in regards to this timeline and this reality. How crazy is that? Maybe we'll even open a portal. Okay, guys, till next time, thank you for joining me for Renegade Radio, your Monday broadcast of the cosmic weather, as well as talking about how stories are how we are interfacing with this plane of existence, and a reminder that it takes true courage for you to play as exactly you in this cosmic game of life. So be sure to play as exactly you, because guess what? The universe is counting on you, but I have your back. All right. Yeah, exactly. Have a good one, you guys. What is time, anyways? It's morning, noon, night, somewhere, wherever you are in the everlasting now. Stay super, guys. Bye.